Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Arni Nabila binti Muhammad Zainuddin. So here I will show you about this flooding. A flood is the accumulation of water over normally dry land. It's caused by the overflow of inland waters like rivers and streams, or by an unusual accumulation of water from sources such as heavy rains.
Air besar ni, makin besar ni.
Of course, heavier rainfall does not automatically leads to floods, but it increases the potential for them, and even moderate amounts of rainfall can cause serious damage, particularly in places where urban flooding is on the rise. A growing number of communities are finding themselves underwater. Extreme weather, sea level rise, and other climate change impacts are increasingly to blame. But they didn't realize that human activities that degrade the environment often increase flooding. These activities include deforestation, may lead to the lack of vegetation, encourage water to flow over the surface, and make the soil over moist. Floods are made more likely by the more extreme weather. More frequent and intense drought, storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and warming oceans can directly harm animals, destroy the places they live, and wreak havoc on people's livelihoods and communities. Naturally, most people will already understand, and the most important factor in flooding is an excess of low-lying water in a given area. Under normal circumstances, towns are designed so that surface water is channeled through gutters, downspouts, and road gullies into drainage channels. Through a combination of above-ground gutters and rainwater pipes and underground pipe work, the majority of surface water volumes can be safely channeled to the nearest watercourse, while the rest of it seeps straight into the ground. What are the flooding effects? So, the effects of the flooding is global warming caused by the greenhouse effect, a natural process which the atmosphere retains some of the sun's heat, that allowing the earth to maintain the necessary condition to host life. Higher seas. So, As ocean temperature rise and the world's glaciers and ice sheets melt, global sea levels are rising too. Let's look at the engineering solution. Firstly, we got levees and embankments, which is also called barrier. So levees are rise on water bank actually increase the height of river banks and prevent rivers from exceeding bank flood discharge. It's a low-cost strategy. Next, channel realignment. So this is something new, I think, and very simply when we are going to modify the channel by realigning it's help to increase the velocity of the water, and it directs flow water away from important area or low-lying areas. For example, at this picture, this is artificial cutoff which actually can prevent a certain plot of low-lying to fall prey to any sort of flood does occur. This is a good thing that we actually can realignment the solution which is non-engineering solution. So firstly, land use zoning, which is involved dividing floodplain into areas which experience different degrees of flood risk. When these areas had a higher risk, it will have a lesser development. So, it's like law regulation that put in place whereby areas that zoned out as being a higher risk will only be allowed to build a certain quota of development. Next, solution which is most of you already know is evacuation. This is more of an immediate solution. It involves the people and property being removed from flood hazard area to the creation of evacuation plans and backup. It requires adequate flood warning system for effectiveness to evacuate, and the effectiveness also will improve with increased warning time, so the people at area nearby also can be prepared if there is a flood coming. Hi Anna, Assalamualaikum. My name is Arni Nabila. So I will conclude all these documentaries about climate change affected flooding. The conclusion is we must realize that natural systems around the world are being affected by the climate change, which is particularly temperature increases, and these temperature increases are very likely to be a result of anthropogenic emission of greenhouse gases. So we know that climate change is already having a profound and alarming impact worldwide. In order to achieve the goal, we should take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. Climate action is urgently needed to reduce climate change, which means step up effort to reduce greenhouse gas emission and adaptive capacity to climate impact. Climate change is expected to affect flooding through change in rainfall, temperature, sea level, and river processes. Climate change may increase the risk from flooding to unacceptable level in some places, and also may change flood risk assessment priorities. But the important is that our flood risk assessments incorporate an understanding of the impact of climate change on the flood hazard. Okay, lastly, we must remember we need to take care of our nature in order to save a better future for younger generation. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Climate change is real. The weather patterns are more extreme, The sea levels are rising fast, but yet the change is slow. We must not waste another day without at least trying to give our next generation a better chance. We must decide to make this planet a better place to grow and to raise our children. Now, what do you decide? Do you decide to take our future, the next generation's future, in your hands? We need to act now. There's only one race on Earth. Humans. This is us.